what I'm trying to say, 'cause to you I'm an open book. Oh, take your time and read me slowly, baby. Got the hungry look.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Here we are.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it.
Today is, what is it, Wednesday, March 10th.
Today's Wednesday,
Yeah,
Hump
2021, Hump Day. We're halfway through the week. It's all the same days now to me, though.
It is. It really is.
Friday feels like Tuesday because my kids are up all night as if they didn't have schoolwork the next day, but I digress. What's going on with the two of y'all? What's happening, folks?
You know, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Shouts out to all the beautiful women. It is, we're still celebrating women all month, all year.
Yes, sir.
All the
yes,
time.
sir.
But shout out to all the beautiful women. Shouts out to my mama over there at the crib. Love you, mama.
Hey, mama. Hey, Rebecca, mama. Hey, big mama, too. While we had it, too. Look.
Hey, shout out to Sister Gwen. We know your mama by name, man.
I know.
Right.
I love your mom.
Up in the chat,
we gotta get
crazy.
my mama on. We gotta have my mama call in, but y'all may not be able to understand. But I'm a translator. So
yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm about to say, as long as you translate, yeah.
Now she speaks English, but she just, misses a couple words. And
Don't we all? Like, she'll
Like
fit
me.
right in.
Right. In regular English.
Yeah. I mean, regular English is a whole full language anyway, so there's no problem to me. But anyway, what else is going on? I mean, obviously news and politics. Hit that share, like, and subscribe button. You know what time it is. Shout out to everyone in the chat rooms. Good morning to all of you. We got a lot of news and politics to cover, as well as some guests coming up. We can jump. I wasn't going to jump right into. I was going to pass it back to you like I normally do, Rebecca. What's on your mind?
Hold on. There's a couple of things. I want to touch on two things before we start, just to have a conversation about. And one of those things where I said I didn't want to break bread or even talk to the people on Twitter because they kind of mean. So, Coming to America, I see that you loved it.
Yeah, it was corny. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah,
it wasn't that
too. It was. See, it's so crazy because here's the thing, right? I was watching it with people who are American and
people from Africa.
And then some of my Haitian friends. And so what happens is we watch it and we're like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Why? So in some of those areas, we just felt like it was kind of like, okay, it's 2021. We know it was made then. And mind you, most Africans, like, oh boy, he loved that movie. He always told me he loved that movie when he was in Africa. However, seeing it in 2021, thinking that they were going to implement more real Africans in the movie and no fake accents, those kind of things. Yeah. It was kind of like, yo, it's 2021. Let's kind of like not do that. And then some of the things like the idea that it's this lifestyle that women can't do things still in 2021 in Africa. And he's like, it could have been different, but I understood. And I just didn't understand things like Rick Ross having an accent. and like, okay.
So let's be sure it was filmed in Georgia. It was filmed like
I know where it was filmed.
Tyler Perry, yeah.
But there's how many Africans? Studios. Do you know how many Africans live in Atlanta? This is a big place where Africans come and live. I'm talking about straight from Africa. They come here to Atlanta. So it has a big African community. And there are a lot of others, and I'll leave it at that, but there are a lot of others who use the music, who use that, and they'll figure it out, they'll make it work. But I feel like this was more so just a lot of, they could have used Africans. That's how I feel. They could have used Africans in this particular movie. And because it's 2021. I know back then it wasn't really, a thing, but it did bring knowledge to a fictional place in Africa, but for Africans. And then the Africans that were in the movie had the smallest parts. I'm like, it's very, very interesting. But, you know.
Well, I mean, I feel that, but now let's be sure, like it just happens all the way everywhere with every movie. Like how many non-American Black people play roles and they have to go learn the accents, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good. Some of them like, oh, you really worked hard on that one, but try again next time. You know what I mean? It's just it's what Hollywood, and I guess Black Hollywood now.
So that's what I was saying.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I get it, and I understand that, but I was saying it's 2021 though. So you know, we've talked about it. This has been a conversation. This is in the news. This is in the conversations that we have with other actors and things like that. This is something that is not cool. This is not something that's under the rug anymore, right? So it's like, don't use them like when it suits you, and then leave them out when like you literally have a movie about Africa. It's 2021. 30 years ago, I understand that maybe that wasn't something that was like what the reasons that you gave, but now you had access to that. And it was done here in Atlanta. Africans on every corner, Africans in every city, Africans all around. This is a big area where African culture is all over the place. Our music, outfits, things like that. So, but anyway, that's just how I felt. I felt like there was a big lack of representation with true Africans, but and he had to educate me on things too, like that's not true, and that's not true, and that's not true. And they could have utilized X, Y, and Z for this. So it was a lot of that for me. But I will say, I
think it was overlooked too much. You know, it's a farce movie, so it's one of those things where it's meant to be comedy. And I think if they used real Africans in it, I don't think it would have been as funny.
Really?
I really don't. Yeah, I don't, because for the simple fact that, you know, look at those roles. Look at those speaking roles that they had. I mean, some of those roles are old roles from like the 80s, man. So reprising some of that stuff, if you want to keep it funny like that, you got to keep it that farce act. So I think that's why
Bubba,
they went that
disagree.
It was a ridiculous movie, and I think that was.
I gotta disagree with you 100%, baby, because the roles that they played, yeah, those were great. That you had to bring those over because that was part of the movie. And I'm not saying the movie was bad. I just think that we have two different views because I'm in a cultural environment, because I come from, you know, these Haitians, and what we see, you may not see the same. A lot of my American friends didn't see anything wrong with the movie, and I can't fault you for that. No one, right? But we have two different views about this. I just felt like at some places in the movie where they could have utilized it, not for the Eddie Murphy roles where he's playing Randy Watson. That's a great role. Not where where they're playing the dudes in the barbershop. That's the perfect space for them, and to keep continuing that. It was for me like where Rotimi had a role, and it was like 2 seconds, but he's a real African, and they had to make him a character when he could have been him. Even when Trevor Noah, it was just overdone. But I just feel like I do get what you're saying, but I think it still would have been funny. I think they still could have found the comedy in that. You know, Africans are funny too. They get it. They love the first movie. So I wouldn't agree with that, but I just think it's 2021. And when we're going to start, I think the same thing about when they have other people playing Haitian roles in shows, speaking the language, and it doesn't make any sense to me, because I'm like, just go get a Haitian actor so that they can speak the language and do the role.
I feel you. I don't like necessarily disagree with your assessment. I'm just like, okay, it was a corny movie like the first one. I think people have a lot of fond memories of the first one that really don't really match up to what they talk. You know, the first one was corny. The first one was like
they both were corny.
Farce. Yeah. So I mean, teach their own. Like, shout out to everybody who felt that way. You know, you got the right to feel that way. So. I watched it twice. I'm gonna watch it again.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, more power to everybody. You know.
Yeah, shout out to my Africans, shout out to my Haitians, everybody.
But now, but you know, I'll leave it. The only thing I'm gonna say is that let's keep. I don't even want us to keep that same energy. I was gonna say keep that same energy when non-African Americans play African American
and
roles.
I definitely
But
do.
I don't think we need to have that energy, right? I'm saying, hold on, hang on a second. I don't think we need to have that energy because everybody's accents is a whole full of a mess with the diaspora. Like we all, like everybody, of course you can get actors who are from specific places, fine, and they should do that. I think one of the problems is they filmed this in the quarantine and we on isolation. They probably couldn't get folks to come in because they don't want to come to America because we a whole mess over here in Atlanta. That's one thing. Travel is a whole mess. But setting that aside, like, I mean, everybody has a right to feel how they feel about it. I think there was a lot of people who said that about Black Panther as well. Right. There was a lot of people who said, especially that Forrest Whitaker's sorry accent, like the power of the Black Panther is it? I mean, that was a whole mess. So, I mean, I get it. I dig it. I just feel like it's just they mix and match all the time. And honestly, it's a labor issue, too. The reason they get so many non-Americans is because, well, I mean, it's a labor issue and they actually can, break some labor laws in order to get people from another country to do roles for African Americans. So if they're doing that in one respect, I could dig it.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know, but I'm adding. I know that's not what you're saying, but I'm expanding the conversation just a little bit. But I mean, to everyone who felt that way, I don't disagree with you, Phil.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was a cool movie. It was corny, just like the first one. But I think that because we're in 2021, a little bit more upgrade. We're in Atlanta, and I get for the other ones because it's quarantine, they couldn't go. If say it was somewhere else and there wasn't that particular demographic there, but Atlanta has a huge demographic of that, and the culture is all around here, whether it's the clubs, the music, the clothing, every corner, hair braiding, all of that, it's all here. You know what I mean? And the difference between this movie, I would say, but this was supposed to be comedy, right? Like you said, but the difference between, and it's not like there's no African comics, but the difference between this one and the other one, Black Panther was, I think they dedicated it more to making Africans look a certain type of way, or they practiced the accents more, or whatever. Got people who really, really, to me, tried. Forrest Whitaker accent wasn't the best, but I think a lot of people really, really went into the culture and tried their best.
What was his name? What was his line? The power of the Black Panther. I'm like, bro, like that was
he had a small part.
Yeah. Anything else, Rebecca?
No, this was the second thing. I just wanted to put that out there to show that...
she just want to put that out there on behalf of her African angel. That's all. It's
on behalf of myself. It wasn't even only him. It was my whole crib, my whole family, actually. But it was, Piers Morgan.
That was glorious.
Man, what?
Ben, when you said it yesterday, that he was jealous... I didn't understand what you were saying. Yeah. And I mean, I thought you were saying because the Queen didn't invite him to something.
No, he's really low, high key. It was
Meghan Markle pushing him to the side after a date, like what he said, ghosting him. There's an interview of him talking about Meghan Markle ghosting him. Literally during, he met her, they ghosted him, and then she ended up meeting the prince. And he felt some kind of way. He said he bought her drinks, they kicked it in the bar, he put her in a cab, she took it to the crib and never called again. And that is why I think he's been so butthurt on disrespecting her time and time and time again.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
She didn't choose him.
There's some good tea.
She didn't choose him. Yeah.
And he's extra bad. He's extra salty because apparently they were on a... I guess I don't even call it a date. Like they had dinner, right? He and Meghan Markle, and he put her in a car, and that car took her to a party where she met the prince.
There we go.
And she ain't never hit him back. So he's been jealous, like angry, a long time.
Some men can't handle rejection, and it shows. Like he literally took it to his whole career. He built his career. He went back to the crib after they didn't want him over here no more, and destroyed or tried to destroy. Or aided in disrespecting and pulling her down with the media. He's like a huge voice out there in the media. Everybody loves him. Everybody likes his opinions. Everybody, whatever. And so everything he says goes. Now, I wanted to add, look, lip smacking. Sorry, y'all. I wanted to add that also for the co-host on his show. I don't know if I dropped that link in the
I think we got it in
Slack,
there.
but do you think we got it?
Let me just take a look. Go ahead. Good. I'll find it.
Look, you think we got it? But the co-host, there's a co-host, and he happens to be a person of color. I want to say black, but he always got belittled, and he's the weatherman, I believe, on the show. He always got belittled and disrespected by Piers Morgan, always. And at this point, one time Piers Morgan had him disrespected him so much on the show, and the two white women next to him were laughing it up and saying, why do you have to treat him like that? Da, 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 da. To the point where it shut him down. He couldn't even do his job properly. He walked off set. This time he got his round to go ahead and get Piers Morgan back. And he shut him down about Meghan Markle and was like, we about tired of you. We about tired of you and how you mad that she didn't choose you. You mad. And that's just what it is. And then that caused Piers Morgan to walk off air. And that's that. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Run that clip.
Yes,
Run that clip. It's
please.
glorious.
And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this program. A number of times. And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry. No.
Sorry. Do you know what? That's
You can trash me, maybe not mine.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This is
this.
absolutely diabolical behaviour. I'm sorry, but Piers spouts off on a regular basis, and we all have to sit there and listen. 6:30 to 7 o'clock yesterday was incredibly hard to watch.
Ben, thank you.
That's hilarious.
So
man.
what's funny, what's really funny about this, it was when he first walked out, when Piers Morgan did that to him. I think it's Alex Bresford. When Piers Morgan did that to him, when he was walking out, he's like, I'm not gonna take this from you anymore. You're disrespecting me. He's like, you're just a weatherman. I can do this. It's gonna be hot and sunny today. Piers Morgan will say, it's gonna be hot and sunny today. And then he said, drama queen. He called that man a drama queen while he was walking out. Now, what do we call Piers Morgan?
Oh my God! I want to take the charge. I want to take I want to take the fine. He's a fuckboy. Like that's what he is, right?
He's a bitch ass nigga. He's about
actually
to say something.
I'm sorry, Mama.
We'll bleep out. We'll go out and bleep all those for the podcast version. But that's what he is, right? How you a big ass grown ass man, right? And you talk Cash Money crap on your show every single morning, right? He even sat there and had the one anchor on the left hand side, the woman, stand up and talk about her mini dress, right? This kind of dude, like he's just drenched in mediocrity first and foremost. Like he really doesn't have any measurable skills to begin with, but then also misogyny and then also racism, and he does it all the time, every single day. And he takes one thrashing, just one day where he wasn't the one giving it out and he couldn't take it. He really thought he was going to be able to keep his job by walking off the set. Later on in that day, turns out that's the end of Piers Morgan, and that's the end of his role.
And, social media definitely played a huge part in that, because they started writing to the news company, I believe, and how many complaints came through email, and they had to read those things and they shut them down. One more thing I do want to play, and this is the depiction of how British media was reacting to Meghan Markle's interview. So let's take a look at that if we have that, Dwayne.
She is a celebrated professor and author whose latest endeavour explores the lasting legacies of British racism and colonialism. I'm very much looking forward to interrupting you. So you are black. What on earth is that like? Does it hurt? It's not that bad here, though, right? How many racisms have you seen? Again, you avoid an answer. How dark is the baby going to be? How can there still be racism? You're a successful author. You're on television. If a person like me has to listen to a person like you, is that not progress? I just feel like there's oops racism, and then there's racism. And you keep flattening the two. Your experience of them as a black person is that they're the same. Man. But I know when I mean oops, and I know when I mean
So it's like, there's oops racism, and then there's racism.
Racism.
So we're more in the oops racism department. That's ridiculous to me, but that is really what they are doing. And every comment that has come about has sounded like that from people over there. That's just like, it was just a little bit of racism. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Just a little sprinkle dink right there. Ain't nothing wrong with asking about the color of the baby. Just want to know if he's going to be black.
That's like, Rebecca.
Or will it have a single? No. They want to know if it has a single drop of melanin. That's what they want to know. If you have
or a little curl
drop,
on the edge,
right? Just the slightest bit of, substance to your hair. Anyway. Let me stop. Let's talk about some politics for a bit here. Biden's stimulus package. It's really a bad political move that he's making here. In a press conference on Tuesday, Press Secretary Jen Psaki confirmed that Joe Biden's name will not be on the stimulus checks in the same way that they were for President Trump. Psaki said, "This is not about him. This is about the American people getting relief." Let's take a look at that clip.
On whether or not he wants his signature on there like former President Trump demanded?
Well, we are doing everything in our power to expedite the payments and not delay them, which is why the president's name will not appear on the memo line of this round of stimulus checks. The checks will be signed by a career official at the Bureau of Fiscal Service. This is not about him. This is about the American people getting relief, almost 160 million of them.
So he did not want his name to appear on the checks?
He didn't think that was a priority or a necessary step. His focus was on getting them out as quickly as possible.
So, in the sum total of everything, it doesn't matter whether or not his name is on the check. But I think it's kind of part and parcel with how bad Democrats are at messaging. Not only are people getting less money, right, but they're not even going to get credit for the things that they did do. And this is the one thing the Republicans are really good at. They're going to take credit for everything. They're going to attack this stimulus bill. They didn't vote for the stimulus bill. But when it comes time for people to actually get money, now they are going to take credit for getting this money to the people, the little $1,400. They're going to take credit for that. And so it's not to me about, I don't really care about the pomp and circumstance of signing your name on a check, but it really just shows that Democrats ain't out here playing politics the right way. They simply are not, because there are a couple of good things in this bill, and we'll talk about them in a minute, particularly for a couple of things for black farmers specifically, right? A couple of things for families with children. All right. Those are decent things. But at the same time, if you don't tell the people what you did for them, then the people have no idea what you did for them. That money's going to hit their bank account. They're going to be like, oh, cool, and move on about their business. And this is just another misstep. It's just another misstep leading into the 2022 election, because in 2022, people are going to be like, what was done for us? Well, from their perspective, it's going to be a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
What you think?
I think I agree. If they're not, and this is why I say that our current administration is too silent right now. Let the people know what's getting done, where it's going, how it's going. Get with the community, start talking to them, educate them on what's going on. Because you drop that money in my account, I'm about to spend it, even if I don't make it right back, pay some bills, and just be like, what is the government doing?
Yep.
What are they doing?
Right.
So at this point, I think, they should definitely be. I don't know why they're trying to give the facade of, and they late with it too, but I don't know why they're trying to give the facade that them just putting money in your account is enough.
It's messaging. They got to tell people what
communication.
They're doing.
It's a relationship. We always compare it to a relationship, right? If ain't no communication, you can drop money in my bag all day. I'm gonna spend that. But I need the communication, babe. Here, this is for you today to go get some done.
Trump
babe,
had that much right.
Yeah, right. Hey, babe, here you go. This is for you to go get your nails done. Go stop and get your hair done. Whatever. Something. It makes us feel good. Communicate with us. You got to think, compared to like the Affordable Care Act, right? The name of the Affordable Care Act is bad in and of itself, right? Because it was never really affordable, but it gave us a whole lot of protections, right? It did a lot of good things in terms of protecting people. You can stay on your insurance until you're like 26 or 27, I forget, right? But they felt like, I think they sit back in their offices and be like, we did a really good job, and we're not going to even tell people how good of a job we did for them. and then lo and behold, Republicans who voted against it
will go to their constituents and pretend like they did it while they actively blocked it. And so long as there's no counter messaging coming from the Democratic Party, which they're terrible at, then anything these Republicans say is going to matter. It's going to count, and people are going to take their politicians, their senator, their congressperson at their word, even though they're just dead ass lying to the American people. Here's another thing that's actually good in this bill. It's one less reported element of Biden's stimulus bill is a provision that will provide disadvantaged farmers with billions of dollars. Roughly 1/4 of disadvantaged farmers are black. So this money would go directly to many black farmers, according to Tracy Laura McCurdy, executive director of the Black Belt Justice Center, which provides legal representation to black farmers. This is the most significant piece of legislation with respect to the arc of black land ownership in the country. She goes as far as to say that the relief being provided to black farmers is a form of reparations. We'll be the judge of that. Since the 1950s, black farmers in America have lost more than 12 million acres of their land. These tragic losses are the result of systemic racism, which pervades the legislative bodies that created agricultural policy and the business practices within the country, in the industry. Some experts claim that this is the most significant support of black farmers since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Of the 3.4 million farmers in the United States today, only 45,000 are black, according to USDA, which is down 1 million from a century ago. At the peak of black ownership in 1910, black farmers owned 14% of the land. That number is down to 2% today. Those black farmers who somehow have managed to hold on to what they have done so at great cost. Most are crippled by debt, much of which is owned by the U.S. government. Abraham Carpenter, a black farmer from Grady, Arkansas, believes the debt relief and stimulus being provided by the current legislation will be fulfillment of a lifelong dream of finally getting out from under debt. The way these farmers talk about the relief, they say is set to actually get moving. So here's another provision that is actually really good in this legislation. Like I have a lot of problems, and we've talked about it. The lack of $15 an hour, right? The lack of actually giving people $2,000 when you told them that you're going to give them $2,000, and the fact that those payments are not recurring. It's just one-time payment. But this is actually a good piece of the legislation. And if they're not going to let people know what's in the legislation, then who gets credit for it? Because credit matters in politics. Yeah. Like you literally have to take credit for what you did. I know this might be like a nuanced political thing, but if you're not telling the people what you're doing, then they don't know what the hell you did. And all we do know is what everybody sees as bad. What people are going to remember about this legislation is Kyrsten Sinema, the 8 Democrats that voted it down, the $15 an hour. People are going to remember that you gave us $1,400 instead of $2,000 when you promised $2,000. Like that's the kind of stuff people don't forget. At the same time, you did a couple of good things in here. Can you not put up some advertising, put up some videos, put out something and let the people know what you did? But yet again, here the Democrats are like, oh, we did a good job, boss. Now let's just, no, it's politics. Let the people know what you're doing right, because we have the responsibility of letting people know what you're doing wrong. So they better get that together, Rebecca.
Bubba.
Dwayne. No.
David.
Stupid.
David. Jake.
We pass it out. Pass the hot potato. Eric.
No, but seriously though, the communication part of it is what you said. It needs to be done. But they haven't been doing that. I don't know if they are, just because we're screaming it, because we've been screaming $2,000. They still ain't changed that. And
right.
On 1400.
We ain't gonna let them forget that.
They ain't. We're not gonna let them. We're doing the advertisement for that all over social media, baby. Every day we get an opportunity. But they should be working 10 times as hard, working 6 jobs. They got 2 phones, one for the plugs and one for just to make sure that they are getting this information out there. But they're doing nothing. They're doing not a thing. They literally dropped. I don't even think they're the ones that told us we weren't going to get $2,000. It was just like sent out in a statement or whatever.
And we picked it up.
And that was that. And we had to go about our business. There is no communication with these people. I just don't understand why. And you're right, Ben. It's very important to talk to the constituents. It's very important to let people know what's going on. It's because you know why? You got, your ex in the background or this new guy in the background, Republicans and them, they waiting to go ahead, pull up and take credit and say they did that, they built that, they handled that. So very toxic, but they're waiting in the background to just stamp their names on top of that.
Yeah, no, and they
I
really
understand that.
Go ahead, James.
I'm about to say, I just don't understand it. Like literally, that everything that we find out about what's going on is just from news outlets. Democrats not getting up there saying anything. Like, what did we put y'all in there for? What did we put y'all in there for?
Literally.
Damn job, man. Let us know what the hell y'all doing, because right now y'all letting us just die out here in the streets.
I'm gonna be true. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not inclined to use my time on this air telling y'all about the good stuff. Anybody does.
Right.
Because on the opposite side of it is all the bad stuff that they consistently do. So I'm not going to use my time to say, oh, the Democrats did good here, do good.
But I would like to, though. Honestly, I would like to because
I would like for them to do good things so that we can
so that we can report the actual factual good things that they're doing. Because right now it's kind of like, how do we know? And then what matters the most is how you guys are hurting people right now. And that's what we need to speak about so that we can educate people on what's about to go down so they can possibly prepare themselves to be able to take that hit or not.
Right.
You know?
Because check me out. 40, like the thing that we talked about that was good in this bill, particularly for black farmers, that affects 45,000 people, 45,000 black farmers, right? The fact that they did not pass the $15 minimum wage affects like 45% of black workers, right? So we're talking about like we're having to find the one or two little good things in this bill that are targeting towards small groups. You know, the farmers, good on you. People with children, good on them, right? That's great. But in talking about the broader community, the broader nation, all the workers, like you guys missed the opportunity. No, you didn't take actually, you shot down the opportunity to help 45% of black labor with that $15 an hour performance from Kyrsten Sinema, right? So my thing is like, if we gotta read through all your legislation and find the one or two little good things that you did good, one, that shows that you're bad at politics. And this is a political game. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, this is politics. And if Democrats don't have the wherewithal or the common sense to actually promote the one little two, or maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they're embarrassed to say, well, maybe we shouldn't promote this one because we shot down that $15 an hour. In that case, y'all shut up and go get us $15 an hour, because that's what's going to help systemic change across the country. Okay, let's take a real quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Akela Lacy from The Intercept about her work and some of these stories that are coming out that are really disturbing. We'll be back with more Like It or Not right after this break.
Good morning, people. Good morning again. Shout out to everybody that's joining us this morning. It is Wednesday, March 10th. Y'all, we made it through the hump day. Made it through. The day's just getting started, so we still got a whole lot of day left. But yeah, we're going to make sure that you get your day started right, y'all. So we're going to get into some of this good music.
Never understand things that we want, but you keep coming back. I want love, you don't. No, so why are you here? Yeah.
Shout out to everybody that's here in the chat room this morning, y'all. We greatly appreciate y'all being here. Shout out Sensation. Hey, mama.
Where my heart is at.
Nats, good morning, Nats. Nat, hey, I see you in there. Good morning.
My love is lost.
Latif, good morning, so be careful out there.
There's only one thing left to do. My heart is breaking, wanting you, so I'll say goodbye. Let's put
Chuck Diesel. Happy birthday, Stuart Eshelman. And while we on birthdays, let me cut down my music real quick, y'all, and give a special birthday shout out to my niece, Tatiana, who turned 16 today. My gosh, 16. And that's my baby. I love you, Tatiana. Happy birthday, baby.
I can't change the past, Don't wanna complicate things.
Brenda, good morning. Goku. Esther, good morning.
Was it real love? There's only one thing left to do.
Gail, thank you so much for your super chat. All right, 5 days until you're 50. That's awesome. Melanie, good morning.
I took a stroll downtown this evening.
Joe, good morning.
When I heard music echo through the night. The same old songs that I heard.
Y'all, if you want to become a patron and support the BPD, support like it or not, you can go to patreon.com/the BPD show. Again, patreon.com/the BPD show. Support the show, become a patron, get it every and exclusive content, y'all. My Tati, you're welcome, baby. I love you.
When I got close, my heart was pumping to the beat that was blasting through the night.
Savage, sweetheart, I appreciate that.
The crowd was jumping, singing songs and dancing through the night. I didn't think that I would ever see your face.
Renee, I know, right? It is time for driving lessons. I guess I'll go ahead and teach her.
I can't believe we're dancing in the street. All I ever wanted was to get close to you. Now I'm burning in your atmosphere. I can't feel my feet while we're dancing in the street in the neon light. I want the music on repeat all through the night.
I'm feeling it, Ben. I'm feeling it.
And when the music started to fade out, the first rays of sunlight lit up your eyes.
Magdalene Moon, I appreciate that, Magdalene. Thank you so much. Sweet Miss Mochi, hey sister, I love you. You did an awesome job with Tati Mickey. Oh my gosh.
I didn't think that I would ever see your face again, but I was wrong. I can't believe we're dancing in the street. All I ever wanted was to get close to you. Now I'm burning in your atmosphere. I can't feel my feet while we're dancing in the street in the neon light. I want the music on repeat all through the night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed that one. That's called With Music on Repeat, man. That was a dope track. And here he is, y'all, my brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon, y'all.
Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Joining me now is Akela Lacy. She is the politics reporter for TheIntercept.com. Previously, she was The Intercept's inaugural 80 Barkin reporting fellow, and she recently published a piece with Ryan Grimm entitled "The Entire Staff of the Nevada Democratic Party Quits After Democratic Socialist Slate Won Every Seat." Akela, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm okay, Ben. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure is ours. I want to dig into your reporting. Let's just go straight into it, because one of the number one things that those of us who want to do better in this country have normally positioned ourselves to do, two routes. You have the inside track and the outside track. And those of us who promote running on the inside track, we always talk about going to the party level, on the state level, local level, and becoming a part of the Democratic Party to win from the inside. You had Democratic Socialists of America, Democratic Socialists, who actually did that and then won. And when they won, the entire infrastructure and the team that was there previously quit. Do I have that right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that story?
Yeah, so so basically this slate backed by DSA in Nevada. I think every person on the slate except for one member was a dues-paying DSA member in their local DSA chapter. They ran on a slate to take over the leadership of the Nevada State Democratic Party. They won all of the seats, and they were notified, I believe, the day afterwards by the executive director that the entire staff would be quitting. Just a point of note, the executive director had gotten a job with the DNC back in February, so it was known that she would be leaving, but the remaining 4 staff quit abruptly, which, I mean, is not all of that surprising when you talk about, like expecting there to be sort of staff turnover when there's a change in leadership in the party. But what really was the kicker in this situation is that not only did they send this kind of ruthless email letting the new chair know that they were all going to be quitting immediately, but they were taking severance and they were ending the contracts with all of the vendors that had worked with the party. And then they also had moved, I believe it was $450,000 out of the state committee account to both the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee and out of state consultants. So they left, they took all their money with them, and they took a little bit extra on the way out. Which, yeah, I mean, you're talking about this inside outside strategy. That's exactly what this group of people had been, working in line with. This is not something that happened overnight. This is something that they had been working towards since before 2016, and particularly had picked up momentum after Bernie Sanders won the Nevada caucus in this last cycle.
I'm listening to this and part of me is like, good riddance. We have the capacity to help raise that money and to replace the money that was taken. But it does just show that, to me, that they never intended to deal in good faith with people with just ever so slightly different politics, right? More progressive politics, people who are going to fight for $15 an hour, people who are going to fight for Medicare for all, people who are going to fight for the new Green Deal. And once those people came and because you don't win at the state level without doing a lot of work, right? You might can luck up and win at a local committee, a local chapter. Maybe you have a small county and there's only like 10 people there and you can talk your way into a seat on the executive committee or something. But on the state level, that's a lot of work. That means that these people who won have been consistently and diligently participating in the state party for some time. And when they actually got victory, the state party was like, oh, well, take our balls and go home.
Yeah, they had won a majority on a smaller board earlier this summer. People were sort of like the party was sort of thrown into disarray with Sanders' win in this last cycle in the caucuses. And I mean, to the point where I think this is a really interesting aspect of the story that, the line that the previous staff were sort of using against the new slate is that they were trying to be divisive and that they were trying to, they weren't willing to work across the party to cooperate or build relationships with moderates or people who didn't disagree with them. And then as soon as they were presented with people who disagreed with them, they went running. I mean, one of the details in the piece that we thought was pretty funny is that the DSA slate was titled the Progressive Slate and the Establishment Slate was titled the Progressive Unity Slate, right? So like we're the ones who want unification. We're the ones who want to work together, but we're not going to give you all a chance to govern. But yeah, to your point, this is something that they have been working towards for a very long time. They've been, the DSA's numbers grew. They exploded, between 2016 and 2020. They're still working. I mean, they're still working to sort of build this infrastructure in the state. So I think it just speaks to the amount of work that they've been able to do in, both in a relatively short period of time and also like to the strategy of building this over a long period of time. Yeah.
So have you talked with any of the new state leadership, right? The slate that won. Have you talked to them, and what are they feeling in terms of this game that's been played, the money that has been shifted, which all of it's legal. They did it properly. They can transfer those dollars. But what is the sentiment from the new leadership there?
So I I've spoken with Judith Whitmer, who is the new executive director of the party, or the chair of the party. They were not given access to list of staff or information that they needed to sort of start the transition until, I believe, late on Monday. The election took place on Saturday, and they, between then and when we first started talking with them about this, they hadn't been, they said that the previous staff weren't cooperating with them, that they didn't even know a full list of the staff who had resigned at that point. So they're feeling, I think they sort of part of them expected something like this to happen. I don't think that they expected them to take the money with them and to take severance. And I think they're feeling, both vindicated in that, this is sort of what they've been, trying to point out for a long time, that like this animosity towards the left is, it's all, we hear about Bernie bros all the time. We hear about how toxic the left can be and how, this is the strategy that we saw in Congress, Democrats will do basically anything to keep the status quo and to keep people from primarying them and to keep people from attacking them from their left or challenging them from their left rather. So they're feeling that, this is an example of what they've been sort of trying to bring attention to for a long time, but also feeling like this has given them sort of momentum to come in, with the ball rolling. I think they've already raised a significant amount of money just in the last few days, based on news around this. And I also just want to point out that the Las Vegas Review Journal, a local paper, had reported on these staff departures, and then we got some more information on the emails and stuff. So, just to shout out to the local coverage that's been, they've been covering this dynamic for a really long time. So I think that has given them a little bit of, of support also.
Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your other piece, recent piece in The Intercept, the piece with Ayanna Pressley, Elizabeth Warren, and Senator Ed Markey, all from Massachusetts, making a move on abolishing qualified immunity. Can you tell us about that piece and any of those updates?
Absolutely. So this bill that Ed Markey and Ayanna Pressley introduced in the beginning of this month is a reintroduction of a similar bill that Ayanna Pressley had introduced last session with Justin Amash, who is no longer in Congress. But so it was a bipartisan bill then. It's no longer a bipartisan bill, but they reintroduced it they had introduced it last session as an amendment to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. They introduced it this time as a separate bill. And some of the backstory on that is that some moderate Democrats led by Josh Gottheimer and Tom O'Halloran in Arizona had been pushing back to some of the provisions in the Justice and Policing Act, particularly around qualified immunity. Politico had reported that, and we had reported last December that some Democrats were sort of getting cold feet, if you will, around the concept of reforming qualified immunity, despite there having been broad bipartisan support. We're talking about from the Cato Institute to the ACLU to Tom Brady to even Clarence Thomas thinking that there's something wrong with this doctrine, which is not a law. It's a doctrine that's been created and sustained and reinforced through legal rulings like over time. That this is something that doesn't make sense. This sort of protection that is afforded basically to police officers are the only people, one of the only professions in the country that are afforded this sort of protection, both that helps them get around constitutional protections for other people and avoid, civil lawsuits in situations where they've violated a person's constitutional rights. So Pressley and Markey have reintroduced this bill. Despite there being pushback now, and that pushback has come sort of in tandem with some of the other sort of backlash that we've seen to protests this summer, to calls to defund the police. And this is an example of how some of the sort of, the lack of nuance in some of the rhetoric around this stuff has jeopardized reforms that really were popular and had a lot of support. And so, we thought, possibly before all of this stuff happened last year, that qualified immunity might be on the table as something that, people on both sides of the party could get behind. There's actually a Republican, Mike Braun, who introduced his own bill last session to similarly reform qualified immunity. He then went on Tucker Carlson's show and swiftly, retracted that bill after pushback from police unions and police officers who started attacking him. We reported that a similar thing happened with Bill Pascrell, a congressman from New Jersey, who said he didn't want to be made to quote unquote walk the plank on qualified immunity during the infamous call that House Democrats had after midterms last year. So we had a sense that this was going to be an issue. The fact that they've introduced this bill, this goes further than the provision in the JPA. This would actually completely end qualified immunity. What's currently in JPA would only limit it, and even people didn't even want it to be limited. Like, people wanted to water down that provision, and so this is an unprecedented push. I'm not exactly sure how much it has a chance of success. But the other piece I wanted to add on this is that the Congresswoman was able to negotiate in exchange for her voting yes on the Justice and Policing Act. She was able to negotiate a series of hearings in the Judiciary Committee on police reform, and specifically a markup on their qualified immunity bill, which is huge. She's not even on the Judiciary Committee. And I think it just speaks to sort of this disconnect between all of the rhetoric that we're hearing around JPA, how good it is, how much of a sweeping, set of reforms it is. And in many ways, that's true. But a lot of these things are already illegal at the local level. I think a lot of people in Congress are frustrated that it's taken even this long to get something like this back on the floor. And at the end of the day, it's unclear how much impact it will really have. And so the fact that Congresswoman Presley, who's been advocating and one of the loudest advocates for putting some of these reforms into the congressional conversation and onto the floor, had the foresight to say, okay, well, we don't want the American people to think that this is all we're going to do on this. We can pass this bill, but we actually need to have congressional discussions about these other things, about looking into consent decrees, looking into marking up this bill. So I think that is even more of an interesting kind of spin on what's been happening. Yeah.
And it is depressing, but also sobering, I think, is the word I'm looking for. The pushback that's coming from within circles of the Democratic Party, who literally need the black vote, minority votes, the people who are the direct victims, the disproportionate victims of police brutality. And so what in your reporting, or what have you found in terms of the justification that's coming? Like, how are they holding that balance in their head? The fact that they need us to vote, but once we get them in there, they themselves, not Congresswoman and not Senator Markey, obviously, or Senator Elizabeth Warren, because they're leading the charge in this regard, but they are getting pushback from the establishment that literally needs our votes. What did you find in that?
It's unfortunate because I think that the conversation right now is still really focused on how this conversation around policing alienated white voters in moderate districts, and not how it boosted Democratic registration, how it engaged Black and brown voters in ways that we haven't seen ever before. That is treated as something that's insignificant in Democratic strategy, which I think it's depressing, but it's not surprising at all. Moderates and party leadership are more afraid of the power that police forces and police unions have to message on this stuff, whether it's true or not. Part of the thing that's so frustrating about this conversation about defund the police is that I think there's, less than 5 members of Congress that have ever even said those words. This is not something that the party is running on. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that the idea that this whole conversation is so toxic to the Democratic Party strategy is really sort of like, a galaxy brain take. Like, they're not running on this. They're doing the bare minimum, and they're still being controlled by these forces that are coming out and saying, okay, well, if you're going to vote for this, like, we're going to retract our police union endorsement. Like, we're going to turn all these people against you. And unfortunately, I think the calculation has been that matters more than engaging and listening to the things that Black and brown voters have been asking for and demanding.
That's the rub. That's the rub right there, right? The fact that the establishment, the Democratic establishment, has already done the calculus, and they are landing squarely on the side of police unions who have just historically been part and parcel with the abuse and the murder and the systemic oppression of Black people. I mean, just the role that police unions play, it supersedes even the police departments, right? Because we've seen these police unions become quite active in their advocacy against the Black Lives Matter movement and against people who are standing up against police brutality. And from what I'm hearing you say, you're saying that, yes, it is the fact that the Democratic establishment has sided with that side of the conversation versus the millions of people that they need to be enthusiastic about going out and voting for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's my analysis of the situation. And I mean, you can look at some of this stuff like Bill Pascrell, the person I mentioned who first kind of brought up being made to walk the plank on this, is the top recipient of police money in all of Congress. Josh Gottheimer is one of the next top recipients of police money in all of Congress. Tom O'Halloran is an ex-police officer. Like, it's not a secret. And for some reason, the conversation is still around, oh, well, how did these calls, really alienate moderate voters? How does this, like, these attack ads that Republicans were running against, frontline Democrats, almost, had them lose their seats, when we're talking about people who voted against the last stimulus bill. Like, we're talking about things that have almost no connection to reality. And the common denominator is that it's lines coming from law enforcement. So yes, unfortunately, that is what I think is going on. Yeah.
Akela Lacy, politics reporter for TheIntercept.com. Thank you for covering these two particular stories and all the work that you're doing.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Great to chat with you.
Pleasure's ours. DJ, take us to a quick break. When we come back, we have more Like It or Not news and politics and probably some more shenanigans. We'll be right back after this.
Akela Lacy, thank you so much again for joining us this morning. You hope you enjoyed the show. We know, like we did, so much. Thank you. We're going to get into some of this good music, y'all. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat room. Make sure that you are hitting that like button. Hit that like button. Share, comment, and subscribe, y'all, so you know when Like It or Not is going down.
I've been waiting all night. Watch you blow a mile. Please don't come over, 'cause you're not sober. Yeah, now you know that ain't right. If you two knew you was coming over, that would be a problem. Yeah. If our friends knew undercover loving, they would try to solve it, yeah. Me and you, what we do, it stays between me and you, what we do, it stays between me and Hey, please don't touch me like that.
Xavier, I appreciate that. And make sure that you get the patreon.com/thebpd show, patreon.com/thebpd show to become a patron.
Breaking rules, and that's facts. If you knew you was coming over, that would be a problem.
Dwayne, you're terrible, Dwayne. God, I think about that all the time. Martin Benton, I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
It stays between me and you.
to know I appreciate it.
And I know that when you come along, I'll be sure. If it's wrong, then tell me that I'm wrong. I don't care. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I pull up to the club looking fresh always.
Xavier, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much.
Keep running like it's
Right Church, wrong pew. Good morning. Purple Rain Hearts, what's going on? I see you.
my way, I got the swag. I got the bills. I got the thoughts.
Magdalene Moon, good morning. Carl R, appreciate that.
Pull up to the crib and it's fresh always. Bitches trying to steal my shit, no way home. Down the floor, cause I'm here to say, ain't no one mess with me, no bitch, they ain't getting paid. Swag, I got the bills, I got the thoughts online, and looks secure.
I got the money, I got the ice on me, I got the good, come get this honey, I got the money, I got the ice on me, I got the good, come get this honey, yeah. Come get this honey, yeah. Come get it.
Me too, Rebecca.
Yeah. Come get it.
Better know. I said let them know that we won't go, nah. No, we ain't going home. We got that swag.
Magdalene Moon, hope you're doing good this morning.
We got the thoughts online and look secure.
All right.
Better know. I said let them know that we won't go, nah. No, we ain't going home. We got that swag. We got the bills.
Oh.
We got the thoughts online.
All right, y'all welcome back to the screen. Rebecca and Ben.
Rebecca, you're not feeling well.
I'm good.
You look nice though. Since I meant to
Thank
tell you that
you.
earlier, you looking good over there, looking fly and everything.
Thank you. I did put my best foot forward this morning and give it an extra 5 minutes.
What's that, velvet?
Crust velvet.
It is. Because let me tell you, this is the thing. When I get up in the morning, I literally just open my closet. I don't care what I pull because I have to work. So I don't have time to really be like, oh, I'm gonna wear this today. I'm wear this. I just pull something and whatever I touch, that's it. And then I open my jewelry box and what's the fastest I can get to that matches, that's it.
What are we gonna do when we all are vaccinated and actually have to go places, like leave the house? I don't know.
You really gotta take shower. You gotta take full showers for real.
I hope y'all are still showering in the pandemic. I really hope folks are still.
You can't just take a shower that night
just to wash out
like,
white.
I'm good. Like no, because it's not just a grocery store run. You
You're gonna be sitting by people all day long, right? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not looking forward to going back to normal, like, because it's just being able to just get up and do what you got to do, and then go back, and it's just especially in Atlanta, like going anywhere in Atlanta takes you got to add an hour to your day just to get there and an hour back. Like this, so I'm not looking forward to it, but I do hope that you guys are not going to wait till the pandemic is over to start showering again. But I digress.
But full showers, I said full showers.
Full showers, right.
You can't be. You at home, like
I'm talking about those folks who, like, we found out folks take whole showers and don't even wash their legs. I'm talking to those folks.
That's an interesting case. That's an interesting case.
Somebody in the chat said hashtag wash your meat.
Both
Speaking
ways.
of washing your meat, we talk about like those videos. Remember the videos of like people actually putting putting the whole dish detergent on the chicken and washing it.
And they don't know that is, and I know that they play like that on TikTok, but they don't know that people are really stupid enough to do that because people inject themselves with bleach, remember?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And to, what was it? The hydroxychloroquine. Like they start thinking that.
Look, I was about to try to murder it. And I murdered it.
Y'all got to be careful what y'all watch on these internets. That said, you actually got to be careful around all these politicians too, because your guy out of New York got even more accusations against him.
Yeah, Andrew Cuomo, more women spoke out. Between his handling of COVID in nursing homes and sexual misconduct, many Democratic officials are calling his scandals disruptive. During the early days of the pandemic, New York was considered the epicenter of the virus, and Cuomo was viewed as an admired leader. I remember that for how he was handling the pandemic. Mm-hmm. He was a superstar. He was that man. He was fine to people. He was the next president. Now, the scandals keep piling. Two more women came out over the weekend accusing Governor Cuomo of sexual misconduct. That is a total of 5 now. That's a total of 5 women who have now accused Andrew Cuomo. Y'all just putting Andrew Cuomo now. It ain't even Governor Cuomo no more. I remember when it was. This has led to many top Democrats, including the head of the New York State Senate, as well as New York Republicans, to call for the governor to step down. On Sunday, Cuomo told reports that stepping down would be anti-democratic. On Monday, the New York State Attorney General announced the 2 lawyers who will lead an investigation into these allegations. On Wednesday, because this was Sunday, Monday, now we're on Wednesday, Cuomo faced yet another allegation of sexual harassment, this time from a woman who works with the New York's governor's mansion. The accuser alleges that Cuomo touched her without consent during a meeting at the mansion. And then we've been covering this since, the end of last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't want to believe that woman, Lindsay Boylan, who originally was the first one to speak up about this. And she's been speaking up about this for a while. It just circled back at the end of last year. And they were saying because Cuomo was coming up in rank and he was becoming more lovable. He had a segment on CNN with his brother, who said that he's black on the inside. And this is where the problem lied, because of that, because everybody loved him, we couldn't. How dare we say that he actually did this? He actually did harass this woman. And the thing about it is, she's coming up for a certain position, and I don't remember what exactly that position is, but she's running for a position in the city of, I think, in New York City. And she wants to, they're saying that she was doing that because she is coming up. She said, no, I've been doing this. I want to do this. It's not about that. I just think that it's a disservice for me to step in these places and not say that this happened to me while this man is coming up. It doesn't make any sense. And people were like, well, I don't believe her. And even if he did do it, we don't care. So, but now all these women, we got 5 now. We got 5. So.
And it's probably going to end up being more. It's probably going to end up being a lot more, I think.
Bruh. It always does when you open up that Pandora's box and you get somebody who allegedly, or whatever you want to say, does this type of thing. It's always more. What bothers me the most is the fact that people are willing to ignore it because he was their favorite politician. Right. That's crazy. And that's the number one problem we got in this country, is that people become super fans of these politicians, and then they're like, well, I don't care what they do. No, you really should, not only because of the hypocrisy of it, but also because of the human decency of it. If you let people continue to get away with this, they're going to continue to get away with it. I know, I don't know Lindsay Boylan personally, but I've been following her campaign. And she ran her campaign the first time around, and she mentioned it. She talked about it, but that was not the basis of her campaign by any measure. She ran a hell of a campaign. She didn't win, but she took it on the chin. Like, she spoke up when it was not popular to speak up, right? She was the one, and it always takes somebody to be the brave one to step out there, because look what happens when people step out there, when women step out there. And I don't have to testify to this. Everybody in the audience, especially the women, you know this. When you speak out against somebody who's popular and powerful, it does not do you any good. You're going to be on the defensive every single day because you're going to be attacked by those people who, if they saw Donald Trump do it, they would be ready to call out the troops to take that man to the gulag, right? But if their favorite politician, Andrew Cuomo, does it, then they don't believe her, and then they attack her. And they attack all of these women. So that's just something it happens so many times. Every single time this happens, you see people shift what they want to cancel. They shift the whole Me Too movement. They shift the whole cancellation process because it's their favorite politician. And that's what's got to end.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's how Mary had a little lamb. No, a lot of you said a point there, and about women who speak up against these men in power, and it could be about abuse in the work environment. Right. It doesn't even have to be sexual. It could be all kinds of things, disrespect. And once you speak up, because I know this from experience, like nobody's business. Once you speak up to one of these white men, once you speak up to one of these white men, and I laugh about that because one of them is suspect. But once you speak up in front of these white men or about these white men or any man in power, to be honest, they're going to look at you crazy. How long did it take for people to start realizing that, hey, there could be some truth to what's happening? And even if it's presented, remember when they said believe? That's why when I did that story, I kept saying, I hear you guys, but y'all was just saying believe all women. You guys were just saying believe women. You guys were just saying, we're supporters of the Me Too movement. You guys were just saying time's up. And now, because it's Cuomo, y'all forgot about all of that. All of it. So that's why I thought that to be very interesting.
I just feel like it's also a power thing. And people in power who have power over people's, careers, their destinies, it becomes abusive in all kinds of ways. That's not only sexual assault or harassment, but also, like you kind of alluded to it, Rebecca, just like the trajectory of their career, right? And when you have the nerve to speak out against it, you'll be surprised. It's anytime you speak up, and it's not just it's every scenario. I'm thinking of every scenario where when you speak up against something, you pay a price, right? You speak up against the Democratic Party, you pay a price. You speak up against your boss, you pay a price. And it's always, it doubles the victim, like it compounds the assault. And it becomes so infuriating when you see people on your own side doing it, right? And there shouldn't be a this side or that side when it comes to certain issues. And so while, this whole process is going to play itself out, the district attorney is looking into it and all those things. The most disgusting part about it is all the people who find ways of excusing it, knowing damn well that at some point in their life, they have either been on the receiving end of this type of assault, right? This power trip, or they've been on the giving side of that power trip, or they know somebody who's been assaulted. They've known somebody who's been harassed, but because of politics, because that's their favorite politician. That's why you can't be a fan of politicians, because there's going to be something you got to hold them accountable for. There's going to be something that you're going to have to check them on. But if you're so enamored, it's like this whole thing with Joe Biden. Kamala, even more so than Joe Biden. I get that you love these politicians, but you shouldn't. Because if you love them and you love them in this sycophant kind of fanatic way, you're never going to hold them accountable. And what does that do? That gives them the power to do whatever they want to you, not for you. It gives them the power to do whatever they want to you, because they know at the end of the day, you're just going to go along with it because you're their biggest fan.
But even when you love them, you have to hold them accountable. When you love someone, you're able to hold them. You should hold them accountable because you want to make sure that he does the right thing, she does the right thing. Something happens, right? Something changes. And if this indeed happened and he wasn't aware that he was being that way, I'm not making excuses, but I'm saying it's the conversation. Don't try to deflect. Don't try to act like, your fame will protect you. But because we do live in a society where, especially white men in these spaces, their fame does protect them, their money does protect them, their positions do protect them. It sucks. It's disrespectful. But I think now this is her third try. Now Lindsey Boylan, she has like a voice. They try to silence you. They try to blacklist you. They try to scare you. They think that you're nothing. You worked for them. You did all this stuff for them. But they're just like, you spoke against me. You spoke against authority. Oh, no, I don't play that. I don't play that. So you will never work in this city again. You will never work in this state again. You will never work in this organization again. You will never work in this space again. There's nothing here for you. And then even if the person does a tell-all, even if the person does a whole YouTube video about what happened, people are still so sick enough to be so in love with the person that they've created or the facade that the person is walking in that they don't care. They don't care.
That shut down part, man. Like and that's the power part, right? Think about what's the producer, Harvey Weinstein. Right? If you didn't give him what he wanted, he had the power to shut you out of the industry completely. Right. And so and then again, like I've seen this power be wielded against people in non-sexual ways. And it is just, if you empower it at any level, that's the thing. If you empower it at any level, you are literally empowering the system that's going to tear you down eventually. Wait till it's your turn. Wait till it's your turn to step up and to seek power or try to wield the power that you have. And you're going to quickly find that the people that you defended around you, because you were their biggest fan, the politician, they had an entire brand of clothing start to go out for Andrew Cuomo, right? They termed the coin Cuomo sexual, right? Because they like to fetishize everything. Like it's a governor ostensibly doing his job, right? And fudging the numbers, right? But they made him such a hero that now you can't hold him accountable. Or if you try to hold him accountable, it comes at a great expense. And this is why we can't elevate politicians at that level ever. Not only politicians, but your boss. Like, stop kissing ass and kissing up. Right? Stop brown nosing, because eventually you're going to have to put somebody in check. And if you have not created an environment where you can hold powerful people accountable, then it's going to come and bite you in the ass at the end. So shame on everybody. Shame on everybody who is participating in this excuse. Right? Yeah. Let the process play itself out. But stop making it seem like we should not hold people accountable just because they got a D by their name and they wear blue. So anyway, there's some other.
They got a little black in them on the inside.
On the inside. And they got a whole ass segment on CNN, just for him to like, oh, this is great entertainment. Like, well, we got the brothers on there and they're talking about mama.
Hi. Like,
yeah, mom doesn't like me like you as much as she likes me. Like, they had this whole thing. And then
Twitter was like, oh my God, this is what we love to see.
Exactly.
I love it. Brothers in the game. Like, oh my God.
Exactly. Oh my God, they loved that. That was the height. How many segments? I bet you if you go back and count like how many hours and segments this man did with his brother on CNN, they probably did more coverage of that than the fight for 15. I tell you that much. Yeah. Here's another story that's coming. FBI, per usual, we understand this is nothing new to black people, but the FBI has announced that white supremacists are seeking affiliation with law enforcement and military branches. Based on an investigation that was done between 2016 and 2020, the FBI's division in San Antonio concluded that white supremacists and other right-wing extremists would very likely seek affiliation with military and law enforcement for the furtherance of their ideologies. Congressman Jamie Raskin, the chairman of the House Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Subcommittee, had this to say about the FBI's report in a statement released by his office. He said, when we asked the FBI last year to testify about white supremacists executing plans to infiltrate law enforcement across the United States, the Bureau refused and told us it had no evidence that racist infiltration was a problem. Now, the January insurrection and the growing evidence of off-duty law enforcement officers being involved in the attack on Congress And this newly leaked report confirmed in my mind that the FBI's failure to level with the American people about organized racist infiltration and law enforcement is having dangerous and deadly consequences. Here's the thing, like, we knew this, and the FBI sure as hell knew this, right? They're not, they have operatives everywhere. They know what the Klan is up to. They know what the Proud Boys are up to. They know what all these organizations that are far right-wing extremists are doing. And they know how they have been infiltrating not only the FBI, the Justice Department, they've been infiltrating the military for decades. And it took the January 6th terrorist attack for them to finally say, oh, well, now that you mention it, I guess there is white supremacy trying to infiltrate. This one, Rebecca, there was two police officers who were in a viral video dancing with the black community, who were then found to be marching up the steps on January 6th with the other white supremacists. So they're out there shucking and jiving like, oh, we love black people, we could dance with you in the streets. And then they line up with these white supremacist groups and go on an all-out attack against this country. And the FBI was like, oh, now we see what you mean.
So when they were dancing with the black community, this is one of those stupid posts. And I think y'all need to stop. White and black people need to stop doing
Facts.
this. When you see white people and black people dancing together or whatever, that does not mean that racism is over in one picture. Because that usually is like the caption, right? When you see that, oh, racism finished in one picture. No, it doesn't work like that.
All lives matter.
Finished because police officers are dancing with the black community. Racism is over because this police officer went to the black community and threw a basketball in the hoop and made the video go viral. It doesn't work like that. Because at the end of the day, especially when they are white and they go home to their racist families and racist, counterparts or whatever the case may be. And because they're police officers, so they already have this systemic thing and they have this one idea of what black people who live in certain areas are, who they are and things like that. And this is not all police officers, but this is most. I said it. And I say this because at the end of the day, they do that to say, we are a good police department or whatever. But then they go up to the steps and things like that, and they're the ones literally fighting for Trump, literally protecting Trump, literally praying to Trump, literally risking their lives for every racist thing that Trump has put in place. And it's not a shock, and it shouldn't be a shock, like the beginning of what you read said. This isn't a shock to black people that law enforcement and everybody else is going to work together, because they've been doing this. They've been working with people, the Republicans, to create the whole terrorist attack. This ain't nothing new. So it's just like, when I hear this and when I see this, it's like, we've been shouting this forever. I remember you used to do stories on this all the time, being back at that other place. And but now it's like you're looking like, okay, like this has been happening. But yes, we need to stop. We need to stop shucking and jiving with these folks, because
don't dance with now police officer ever again.
No,
ever.
And then don't go twerk on them either. Like,
oh my God.
It's all just it's all crazy. But yes, when we see those things, this is what it's about. Nobody is. I don't think any officer is. I don't think these officers will be authentic until they are defunded and until they are vetted, until they are stripped of their weapons. Hey, Australia is a whole place that took the weapons off that whole area, that whole continent, and they took I think there was a mass murder or something that happened. They was like, give up the guns. But give up the gun. We over here looking crazy.
And we're over here, even in the legislation, the George Floyd legislation, there's more money for police, right? We're talking about the need to defund the police, right? And I'll add one other thing, not only defund them, but also make them criminally and civilly liable. That's what we're talking about in terms of qualified immunity. And we are literally paying with our tax dollars, right? I need people to get this, like your state and local taxes, those fines and fees and tickets. We are funding our own oppression with these police departments. And I don't care if a police officer comes down there and can take it in the paint and do an alley-oop and dunk it. I don't care what. At the end of the day, they have a political ideology. And Rebecca, what you're saying is one of the things I heard you saying is that they are political. They have on this uniform, but underneath that uniform is probably a Make America Great Again t-shirt. That's what keeps them warm and dry at night, right? When they're out there dancing with you, they got on the thin blue line shirt underneath it, which means at the end of the day, they see you a certain way. And so it is also, and I don't mean to like pivot this to just to point out how these videos where people are dancing with cops and everything, because it also goes all the way back to the FBI, right? The FBI is a part of this system as well, right? They're nothing more than just federal police officers, glorified police officers, and they too have a political ideology. And so, of course, they're not going to be able to thoroughly investigate themselves and be like, oh, well, look at us. You know what I mean? We got some white supremacists in our ranks. They're not going to say that. And that's why we as the people have to hold them accountable. And some of that accountability starts with us stop fooling ourselves about these cops just because they did something cute. They did a video where they pulled somebody over and gave them ice cream instead of a ticket. No, that's all propaganda, 100% propaganda, because at the end of the day, when they pull you over and the camera ain't rolling, they're going to say you try to resist.
Exactly. And I mean, and it doesn't help that we've watched how the feds recently do like people like Billie Holiday and Fred Hampton. And the same way that we're funding
Malcolm X. Dr. King.
It just, the list goes on. And because they decided to have the audacity to speak against what they were doing to the communities, because they decided to put it in music that we were being lynched, like stop lynching us. That's a problem. To feed the community, that's a problem. To tell police officers to stop shooting us, that's a problem. The feds have to step in and tell you to shut up because you're causing disruption in the community. But the same way that they'll give our money to police officers, they've given our money to the military, they will fund these people's pockets to do exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
While we're out here hungry, we're out here dying.
$1,400 instead of $2,000.
They're killing our black kids for nothing, for playing outside. For
$7.25 an hour. They spending money dropping bombs, but we can't get $7.25. And Lord, like you just don't. You just reminded me of.
So all of this is happening
Rice.
though. But this is why I say when we say things like defund the police or abolish the police or those kind of things. Now it's like defund the feds. Those people did these background had background organizations. All of this, and then we're praised for their efforts.
Yeah.
Billie Holiday had a handcuffs on her feet to a bed as she died because she sang the damn song, not because of drugs. You know what I mean? And this is my problem. It's like when we talk about this and we see those people that's all the faces that I see when I see those terrorists on the steps of the Capitol. It just flashed back to all these things. And I don't care. The justice that has happened for them is beyond me because we still yet to have justice for the people that we were crying and protesting over and fighting over. We yet to have justice for Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. There is no justice for those people, but the people at the Capitol have more. The people that did that at the Capitol have more justice than those people. So miss me without that whole conversation. Feds is gonna fed that they've been doing. We don't trust them. And police officers going to do that too. So that's just what it is. They still
act like they can't find out. Like, can you help us find this individual? Like, bruh, that's your cousin. That's your cousin. Like, where they at.
That's your son.
You know exactly where all these people were. There should be I'm good. They got 300 people arrested so far. There was about 10,000 people out there. Y'all need about 10,000 arrests. And you only got 3. And you're asking us for help. When you could find somebody that you think is a part of Antifa with a tattoo on their knuckle.
Like, y'all got a full face, panoramic mode. Y'all could just go through the whole thing and pick a person.
They could put that picture on Facebook. They could put that picture on Facebook, and Facebook could tell you who they are. So you know the feds can find out where every single one. Like, I get tired of uploading pictures and they try to tag people. Like,
tag somebody.
All right, that's it. Go ahead, James. You about to say something, man?
Oh no, I was gonna say all this technology they got. Y'all know who the hell these people is.
They know. They know where they live.
Y'all know where they live. Right.
They're not gonna hold themselves accountable. They're gonna do just enough to make it seem like they did enough to hold those white supremacists accountable from January 6th. But at the end of the day, if they held every single one of them accountable, one of them gonna be their cousins. Shit, hell, might be one of their nephews. All right. That said, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we have another guest. We're going to cover more politics and news, more likely than not, right after this.
All right, y'all. We hope y'all are enjoying the show thus far, man. Rewind. Hope y'all enjoyed the show thus far, y'all. Make sure that y'all stay tuned. We got some more show coming up for y'all.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't. Still selling false hope cause you just don't care. House, feel. If we talking to a uniform, who the real? You know we in the deep south, so let's keep it real. This is what they used to mob, lynch, drag, and kill. I never made the party cause I felt the paper bag. Gotta get this money cause you know I never had it. I'm feeling like my dude, the way I carry my baggage. This heavy load on my shoulders might turn me to a savage. Is that why I gotta fight to get respect? That's a shame, who's to blame? I don't know, but all
Priscilla,
I know is that
good morning.
Still taking that.
Shout out to everybody that's taking us out across all platforms right now, y'all. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, everywhere that you're streaming from. We greatly appreciate y'all.
During prison shampoo. Yeah, these are all the terrible conditions that we bind and we put inside the minds of our children. Can't you see we in despair? Look around, we got crime everywhere.
Make sure that you hit that like button wherever you are. Make sure that you hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe, y'all. I'm all tongue tied this morning.
You just don't care. I hope my people can really go make a difference instead of being the people incarcerated in prisons. I never got caught for dealing a hole in a stolen pistol, so this one goes out to Warren, my granted justice and Crystal. If you ain't done, careful with your stuff. Get your soul in line, chasing after checks. If you ain't inclined to say what's on your mind, please don't throw your stones at me for speaking what's on mine. Man, I still don't feel that comfy in my own skin. It's hard to find your self-worth as a broken kid. These friends,
you know I got you.
That's why rap sheet the only place we fit it in. Yeah. You can go to court or you go on that court. You do 9 to 5 or you go play a sport. Can't represent the house if you out on that field. If you forget your place, you might turn to Emmett Till. Watch them legislate to execute my brothers that they killed. Got me talking about my problems as a way for me to heal. I've been looking for a
Michael Dean Ballard, you're welcome.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice. We time, you I know how to make me feel right. I can't have this sweet talk.
Anna Fox, I appreciate that. Marquez, what's going on?
I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk. You need to say this to me. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, Why you blushing? Yeah, sweet concussion. Oh, you miss my touching. You do. Show me something. Give me more than one thing. I need more than less than I do. Say you're a good guy. Make me believe it.
appreciate that. Susan, thank you so much. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon.
Back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Joining me now is Bari A. Williams, the COO of Bandwagon Fan Club, Inc., a data and identity analytics tech company focused on the sports and entertainment space, and a diversity, inclusion, and corporate social responsibility consultant. Bari, thanks so much for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. And that music he was playing is, I feel like I need some jerk chicken and some
Hey, the DJ, he has us going every single morning like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's like we need to go to the Soul Train line. Other times it's like he just takes us wherever he wants to take us. But listen, thank you for joining us. And honestly, like there's so many things that I want to talk to you about, but I kind of want to just pick up where we left off, talking about these police officers, the FBI, all of a sudden pretending like they can't find people and they're looking, they're crowdsourcing it, fine and good. But to me, it seems like they seem to have all the technology in the world when it's time to find Black Lives Matter activists or trying to find people they think are part of Antifa. But it seems like they have to crowdsource this particular effort. What are your thoughts about that last story we were talking about?
I think it's ridiculous. It's probably the best way to sum it up. And I worked at Facebook, so I know exactly what you were talking about in terms of, we have all the ability, and people tag me in photos that I didn't even realize I was in the background of. So like you get a notification, you are tagged and this person wants to tag in this photo. No, please don't. This photo's from 2010. And also, why is this automatically tagging me? So they definitely have the facial recognition capability in order to facilitate that. It's just a matter of they don't want to use it for those purposes. And what's interesting to me about that is there's a level of insular protection, which you were talking about. Some of these people, these officers would find their cousins or their brothers or their sons. One thing I would applaud is the people that came out on Twitter and were saying, that's my mom. And were identifying their relatives, which I thought, that is what good allyship looks like. It isn't going to, the Juneteenth celebration and doing the cha-cha slide with your uniform. So, I mean, that's not it. So, but you also have the insular layer of protection. Remember, there was a state representative from West Virginia who just got elected, and he was part of the insurrection. So you have people who are part of these state governments, and let's go further down that rabbit hole, these state governments that are proposing certain voter restriction laws. And now it's like you're storming the Capitol. And there were so many people that day where I'm just like, it's very clear someone could easily identify you, like the dummy who had on his work badge with his name on it.
Oh my God.
So you were just going to go storm the Capitol and then clock in? What's
so interesting? Yeah, they don't think, no one thought it through, but they have that right. First of all, let me start here. Your hair looks really good because we're talking about that behind the scenes, but your hair looks great. But they didn't think it through. One reason why was because they knew they were going to be protected. They knew that some way, somehow, if they didn't get me or Billy Bob, they was going to get one of us, but we were going to be protected somehow. Some of them didn't get protected. And some of them did, some of them are, most of them are, but they ain't gonna get everybody. And that's the problem. Like you said, there's the facial recognition available. There is all of that. But you said something too. You was like, we are our hands have the same blood on it as far as getting these people to the cookouts, right? I don't even want to go to the cookout no more at this point because they done invited everybody. The food ain't got no salt at this point. But you said something while we were talking in the back, and that was basically we have something to do with some of this popularizing this Black and white folks dancing on social media and things like that. Let's speak more on that.
Great. So there's I'm an AK, so that's fantastic. I have swords that are of different hues. Great, but just because they can, hop in the stroll line and are on beat, that doesn't. and it's the same thing that we do with police officers, right? Is the idea that, okay, this police officer came to the Juneteenth celebration and did a cha-cha slide, or this person came to, you know, a AAU game and handed out ice cream, or, you know, helped sponsor a police athletic league. And that's all fine and good. That doesn't mean you actually know their politics and if they are actually, if they are an ally or if they are complicit. So it's fine to come to, you know, something once or twice a year. That does not mean that you are an ally. That means you showed up to 2 fun events.
Right.
Like, that doesn't mean anything. So to me, we're also complicit in giving people passes because they participate in elements of our culture. That's a whole different conversation for another day that we should definitely have. Is what we give away and what we keep. And the simple thing of that viral video of the girl in the Uber, and she's Persian and she's yelling the N-word at this Southeast Asian driver, and 2 Black girls are kikiing about her doing it. And that's how people get lazy, and that's how they feel too comfortable, because you're sitting there laughing with her instead of telling her, you need to keep that out your mouth.
Right. Right. And it furthers, I think the part of it that is so destructive is because in those moments that they have these viral videos, and it's directly tied to all the stories, because 2 of the officers dancing in the Black Lives Matter video were part of the insurrection. That becomes literal propaganda. Those videos become literal propaganda that is wielded out every single day, pushed out to make it seem like there's not a systemic problem. And then we take a look out of Kentucky, like the Breonna Taylor killing, and the fact that now the officer, Kenneth Walker, is walking free with no charges against him. Like this is part of the same system. And I want you to speak to it, like how that propaganda goes towards protecting and insulating this systemic problem that we're facing every single day. So it's like in one day we're saying her name, Breonna Taylor. The next day, something on social media is pushing that propaganda that led to her death.
Yeah, I think, well, there are 2 issues with that. One, people are conflating individual actions and individual incidents as like, yay, racism's over. It's like, no, you went to Juneteenth and you know, then maybe that time you did the electric slide. But either way, that did not end systemic racism. That did not lower people's interest rates when they tried to apply for a mortgage. That didn't up their credit score. That didn't get them admission to college. Like, it didn't do any of those things. So I'm not interested in that narrative. And that seems to be the narrative that people push, is like, oh, well, if these 2 officers also danced at the Black Lives Matter protest, then they can't possibly be racist, or they can't possibly share these types of views. Like, who says that they can't? Who says that they were not mandated to go to that protest? Who said that? You don't know that they were or were not. Could have been their choice, could have not. And the second aspect to what you're talking about in terms of the officer walking free in Breonna Taylor's case, well, it's also very easy to do that and push a narrative that, oh, well, it can't be, he couldn't have been biased, or this couldn't have been wrong because a Black man was complicit in helping him get off. So it's also incredibly difficult to combat those narratives when you have Black folks who are willing participants in their own subjugation and our subjugation, because it's going to help them.
That's heavy.
But that's the mic drop right there.
Considering Mitch McConnell, you know, has already started compiling a list of people he wants to replace him if and when he retires, because he's probably not going to run for re-election. Daniel Cameron's at the top of that list.
Right.
See, and Daniel Cameron is Black. You know, yesterday I was getting on Daniel Cameron, and not because of the whole state of Kentucky, but this is what represents Kentucky. And he's over here shucking and jiving in the name of like white folks. You know, he's married. He's a whole Black man that doesn't care. But just because, like, and he thinks that because he married a white woman, it shows unity and union. But it's like that's so constructed.
Did you see any of his family in those engagement photos?
Exactly. Like it's ridiculous to me. So So there's a lot that goes into these stage photos, these stage moments. And of course, he would have somebody like Daniel Cameron to say that that's diversity and inclusion as far as within Kentucky. Speaking of diversity and inclusion, you worked with that with Facebook. Could you tell us a little bit about how that went, how you started with that?
Yeah, so I worked at Facebook in the legal department for about 2.5 years. And while I was there, I started the supplier diversity program. And for me, that was important because the employee numbers at all tech companies are not particularly fantastic. But at the larger tech companies, they tend to be worse because you don't hire as many diverse people as you actually have open requisitions for. So the percentage just keeps falling, even if you're trying. So, so I thought, well, you know what? If we have a supplier diversity program, because not everybody wants to work at a company, they want their own company. But this creates economic access and opportunity, and for people to do it within their own communities and provide those resources to their own communities after they make money from a Facebook. So that to me was a passion project that I did for 2 years. I did it nights, weekends, on my maternity leave. And for me, it was just something that I thought was too important to not see happen. And that was not my day job. My day job was being a lawyer, a supply chain and procurement and licensing privacy lawyer, helping to build drones, lasers, and satellites. Yeah. So I would say that experience was overall was a good one. Until, it was like the Kalani album. It was good till it wasn't.
Speaking of good till it wasn't, I experienced something. I wonder from your perspective at Facebook, because I experienced something at a company called HubSpot that I worked at for some years in Boston. And it was almost like I got locked in to that corporate structure, and it was a great experience. I got nothing really bad to say about it until they started the diversity and inclusion part of their company, and then they wanted to have meetings, and of course, like, I'm one of 5 black people in the entire 1,000 person company, and all of a sudden the spotlight was shined on me. And I'm like, it didn't really make for a comfortable environment, because now I was a black person who had to speak on behalf of blackness, right? Which is fine. I could on behalf of the blacks, right? Totally could do it, but I don't think that they understood the Pandora's box that they were opening up in me and within the black folks, because they were there because, like, if they really wanted to talk about the real truth, let me rephrase that. I don't know if they could have handled if we started talking about the real issues that are underneath diversity and inclusion. What did you run into as you started leading the way on that particular issue with regard to, did they actually want to talk about what it was necessary to be done, or was it just kind of like plug and place some people here and there?
No, I would say, well, first thing, when I got to Facebook, the diversity department was 2 people at that point. Oh, wow. So, yeah, it was just the person who is now the global head of it. Her name is Maxine Williams, no relation. And it was she and another woman named Kiva, and she's great. But they were overwhelmed because it's, 2 people trying to figure out what should this strategy look like and do. And I initially went to them and said, well, what about starting a supplier diversity program? And they were like, do you realize it's only 2 of us right here? Like, we're trying to get employee numbers up. And I understood that, and that's fine. But I think the larger issue, and I think you find that not just at big tech companies, but the smaller ones, is just what you're talking about, Benjamin, is the idea that it can be very isolating, and particularly when there is no diversity department. Like, you're working at, let's call it a startup that might have 150 employees. So any type of activity, whether that's Black History Month, Women's History Month, Pride Month, whatever, they're going to go look to the people that fall within those identities to plan those events. But you're not giving me any resources for it. I'm not being compensated extra for that double. Now I got 2 jobs, it's for the price of 1. And what they want to do is have these nice, bright, shiny pictures to put on the website and to tell people about. Yeah. But the problem is you're not actually creating the infrastructure to support these things. And now you are relying on your employees to do it. And that is the other Pandora's box. It's not just that you don't want to talk about it. It's that you don't want to fund it and you don't want to put any teeth behind it. And you want me to do it for free. And now if I say, you know what, I don't really want to do it anymore because it's not yielding anything. Then they're looking at you sideways because you don't want to help the company. Now you're not a team player. So it's multi-layered.
Yeah. And you, so you said it was fun till it wasn't, or it was good till it wasn't at Facebook. Did any of those struggles have to do with you being a woman? And, you know, what were the other struggles that you went through? Because that, when it did come out, the diversity and inclusion situation, it was big, right? But then I had to think about it like, Black people didn't just come out yesterday. So these companies and these people want to find the Black token or whatever, or the Black person that may be the strongest voiced one, and kind of use them, like you said, and squeeze all the Black out of them. But when people ask them, when people ask them,
but not too much. It has to be the palatable Black. It can't be. Yes. It can't be me. It can't be you. It can't be Ben. It has to be somebody who is going to toe the party line and work with corporate comms to make sure that the narrative is crafted correctly and that you're delivering it correctly. And I'm not that person.
Yeah. And is that what caused you to not work with them, or was that something that
I think for me it was there were really just kind of two things. One is I wasn't sure what the career trajectory looked like. And this isn't just exclusive to Facebook. I mean, it's any company at that point. When I joined, it was, I want to say 8,300 people, which sounds like a lot. But now when you think about the fact it's like 50,000. And when I left, it probably was around 18,000. And so when you're, you have all those layers, it's like, well, how far can I go?
Right.
And how far do I want to go? And is the person that I report to, who has to advocate for me in those rooms that I'm not in, is he willing to advocate for me for how far I will go? And the answer to that I found was no.
Wow. I'm as you talk, like it's not triggering, but it's just reminding me of so many memories. I never forget being in the PhD program that I didn't finish, but that's a whole nother conversation. They when they were doing diversity there for our weekend PhD, all the stuff that we're doing, they were like, we need a Ben Dixon. And they literally came and found me on the other side of the campus and pulled me in to take a picture so that they could show diversity. But then when the rubber met the road, I ended up having to go almost to war with them because of how they were treating me behind the scenes. And so it's just like this tokenism that they want. They want our representation. They don't want our voices. And that's something that I feel like, I don't know how many people experience that in corporate America and in academia, but I just feel like all of us Black folks who are in those spaces are getting a dose of that on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it could be academia, it could be all these spaces, and that's why I asked Bari the same thing. Like, you were at Facebook. People probably assume that because diversity and inclusion was created, like, it was just like this Black protection and it was this and it was that. But I remember working for another company, and they hired me because at the time I wore my hair big, and they were like, and then you're Haitian, you speak another language? Oh, this is great. But when I started talking about Colin Kaepernick, they no longer wanted my voice. Yeah. They didn't want me. They said, we got 2 Black anchors. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. It was me and my other colleague, both from FAMU. They literally said this was going to be great. And then as soon as we started getting Black and using our Black voices, they was like, this is too much.
They shut the whole damn company down.
Quiet.
So, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to shift gears just a little bit here with the time that we have left, because there's another side that I'm definitely curious about exploring with you, and we probably have to take it up at another time. But what we're fighting up against in terms of what people are generalizing, calling the algorithm, and how the different algorithms, Facebook and Google and YouTube specifically, take people and they put them on a trajectory that takes them towards right-wing extremism. And it's like you could watch one of my videos and the next video would be Ben Shapiro, right? And then he's the gatekeeper and takes them down. I don't, just from your perspective in your field, like how much of that did you find to be just business as usual because it was profitable for them, or just ideological? Like this is kind of what, they lean towards in these spaces, or both for that matter.
Yeah, I would say that I don't necessarily think it's ideological. I think some of it came down to a business decision. And I say that because I distinctly remember when I was at Facebook during the 2016 election. And that was when Republicans really started complaining about this notion of, we're censoring them and not letting them, we're not letting their ideas be heard in the free market. It's like, okay, well, first off, this is a private platform. So it's not like the other thing that I feel like I say at least once a week on Twitter is you do not have the right to free speech on a private platform. You just don't. If you violate the terms of service, you get kicked off. It's very simple. So that whole, it's cancel culture and it's denial of First Amendment rights. Go create your own platform. I'm pretty sure that's why Gab and 4chan and Parler and Partridge Under a Pear Tree exist. It's not for you to just spew whatever you're spewing on. And if you're not going to read the terms of service, and hi, I'm a lawyer, I always tell people to read it so you know what you're signing up for. If you're not going to read it, then you can't really be mad when you get kicked off. So I don't think it was so much an ideological decision as it was a business decision, where you have a large contingent of people complaining that their ads are not being seen widely, or their discussions are not being seen widely. And what is it that people are being introduced to via the algorithms in their timelines? And so I think that is what motivated them to shift gears. I don't think it was an ideological thing at all. If anything, you would think that the majority of these folks, if you look at the donations of some of the C-suite of a lot of these companies, they play both sides. And it's because they want to be good with whoever ends up winning. Right.
That blows me away, because if anybody has the data on whose ads were being seen, or whose ads weren't being seen, or whose videos are being suppressed and whose videos are not, it would seem to me that the tech companies would literally have that, like just because it's Tuesday morning, and they can pull it up and say, no, your videos were seen just as much as everyone else. But it seems to be the PR portion of it that really kind of drove it, because the people who are the loudest, is what I'm hearing you saying. The people who are loudest got what they wanted in this paradigm with the algorithms. So even against the actual data, the loudness of the right is what helped them win out in that regard. Yeah, I think it's just, it's I don't remember what's the exact phrase. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Yeah. Such, but. That's basically what happened is, you have a contingent of people who came to the Valley and went on basically an award tour to complain to Facebook, to Google, to a bunch of to Twitter. They went and stopped at all three of these places and just straight up complained. And it worked.
And it worked because their voices are primarily usually the ones that we hear or we see. Meanwhile, we over here like, Lord, can we just get a view, Lord?
Bari,
I'm actually curious to see how that is going to morph when you think about new platforms like Clubhouse. How is that going to change the conversation, particularly when you look at it from the standpoint of there's no real moderation going on there now. So I stumbled into a room, I want to say about a month and a half ago, where a rapper was given erroneous information on criminal justice reform and pardons. And I was like, leave quietly.
No, yes. So, we talk about this. Look, before you get out of here, Bari, we talk about this all the time. And I'm always saying, like, Clubhouse is kind of reckless. You could just walk into rooms and people who have no place to be saying some of these things literally just create rooms, to them. Implicate themselves, or just be given information about not being broke, and they're probably in a bedroom with just a mattress. Like, it's just this weird things like that. But yes, Clubhouse is just a free form for everybody.
They're going to need some moderation at some point, because everybody can't brand themselves an expert on that platform. And at some point, there may be an issue around if or how they may be liable for giving these people the opportunity in which to do so, and you are not correcting it. So we'll see.
We will.
But yeah,
we will definitely see.
I had to tap out when I saw a room called "How to Get a Sugar Daddy in ATL." I was like, you know what?
Girl, that's the only room you saw. Girl, that's a lie on that.
I saw that one. I said the devil is a liar. Anyway, so Bari, thanks so much for joining us. There's a lot of conversations that I want to have. We'd love to have you back anytime that you're available to dig into these topics a lot more.
Sure, happy to.
Absolutely.
Yes, thanks for coming.
Rebecca, James, Dwayne, it is that time of the show. Rebecca, got any last words?
Nope, that was it. I absolutely loved having you on once again, Bari. Thank you so much. Thank you, Akila, for coming on as well. Listen, keep on watching every Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Get your posse, get your brother, get your sister. Make sure you tune in 8:30 a.m. Find us on social media at Like It or Not Show on Instagram. We're going to get Twitter together, I promise you. And I love you guys. Mean it. Bubba, take it away.
Yes, sir. And I'm out myself, y'all. Y'all know it's Wednesday, and y'all know what that means. Work is going to drive crazy today. But at least get a chance to put one song for y'all. So this is going to be the song of the show. And we're closing out right here, y'all. Make sure that you support the show and become a patron. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Patreon.com/the BPD show. And a special thank you to both our guests this morning. Awesome interview, Bari. Come back anytime. That was dope. Love it, love it, love it. And family, make sure that y'all hit that like button on your way out. Make sure that you hit that like button, y'all. Subscribe and share so you know when Like It or Not is going down, y'all, okay? 7 Sweetheart, you already know. Conference call day.
This moment will never come back again. It's sad you never thought I was good enough.
Bärí girl, appreciate that love. Be safe out there, y'all. Be safe.
It's all a bluff. It's all a bluff. It's all a bluff.
Family, that's going to do it for your boy DJ Exclusive. Me, James Rebel Williams, y'all. Hope you enjoyed today's show, y'all. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we're going to give you that good old whatever it is that you want to call it. Like it or not, y'all. Hey, man, we enjoyed the show today. Had everything. Had a great time, man. Really loved it, loved it. Make sure that y'all tune in the morning, and we will see y'all first thing, y'all. Like it or not, your boy DJ Exclusive is out. Mwah! Love you, mean it.